Hey guys, Aaron CybertronZeng here, and today we are just jumping right into things. In the last episode, we featured a really cool team featuring Comfey, so just playing a couple more games with it today as we jump right into the episode. This is a rental team, and there is a showdown export and a team report for this as well, so feel free to check out the links in the description below to try out the team yourselves. Really interesting team for the first game today. Our opponent's got Magnezone, Porygon, Cinderace. There's a lot of stuff I'm scared about here, mainly the Cinderace, I would say. I think that thing can really pack a punch against everything that we have. Porygon is also not exactly like the easiest Pokemon to go up against. So the approach I kind of want to go is Comfey Goodra here still. I'd really like to get some healing off with Comfey. We haven't been able to do it so far, and I think that would be really nice. Although, I'm actually looking at it now more, and like Tyranitar Excadrill just works here too. Like Excadrill being able to outspeed, I think is actually really important. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna pivot out and go Tyranitar Excadrill and potentially have Goodra as a late game max option. The main reasoning behind this is like Excadrill outspeeds my opponent's entire team. It also one-shots Grimmsnarl, Cinderace, the Magnezone, and has max Rockfall into the Braviary as well. Togekiss, I don't think we really want to bring to this matchup. Rotom, you can make a decent argument for Will-O-Wisps into a lot of the physical attackers, but the thing is that like Cinderace still does so much damage with a max Strike or a max Knuckle, so don't really want to play into that. Okay. Yeah, so we're just jumping right into things. As always, if you guys enjoy Road Train, please show your support by leaving a like in the video. I really appreciate it. Question of the day. This is kind of a more generic question, not tailored to Series 5, but I'm kind of curious just what your guys' goals in VGC are this season and what you're really aiming for. Let me know in the comments below. It's going to be Braviary and Grimmsnarl. Okay. This normally makes me think like maybe a Reflect turn 1 and a Tailwind. You could also just fake out like Close Combat into Tyranitar. We could even Dynamax Tyranitar here. I don't know if I want to Dynamax Excadrill immediately. That's my main fear. I don't think you Close Combat into Tyranitar because Tyranitar could Dynamax here, so I don't know. Like, I want to just double Rock Slide turn 1. I'm going to go for the double Rock Slide. If my opponent maxes Braviary, that's not really... Yeah, okay, it's just Reflect coming out. Okay, that's fine. Braviary doesn't max, although that might still indicate a Close Combat, but I didn't want to Dynamax either Pokemon because I don't even think max Rockfall one-shots the Braviary from the Excadrill, and they just Tailwind. Okay, perfect. So that's actually, I would say, pretty much the dream scenario. Although I guess how much is it really the dream scenario because now my opponent gets a free switch in. Oh, we don't knock out the Braviary, actually. Okay. Okay. What do I want to do here? The thing is, like, Grimmsnarl doesn't actually scare me that much. You're never going to max the Braviary. You're like, I would think you might want to Close Combat into either Pokemon. Excadrill's really good against everything my opponent has in the back. What do I think they have in the back? Probably Cinderace Dracovish, right? That's, like, the scariest combination. So, like, Goodra could Dynamax in front of that and start going for max Wormwinds. Like, I could just Giga Drain max Wormwind. I don't know, I'm just leaning towards Iron Head into Braviary here in Rock Slide. I could Protect, but I don't really see that much value in doing so. Okay. Yeah, I think this is better. If I let Goodra, then I risk potentially like a Dynamax. Foul Play comes out. That's going to break our Sash, which isn't super good, but this is actually pretty rough, I guess. Actually, we don't knock out Grimmsnarl, though, which is good. So, we've seen Foul Play, we've seen Reflect, and they only get one free switch in here, which means you can only knock out one of my two Pokemon, which is actually really important. Like, if you bring out Cinderace, for example, is that Cinderace? Yeah, it's Cinderace. Okay. Cinderace outspeeds Excadrill now. I mean, we could also just stall out the Tailwind, right? There's only 2 turns of it left. Is stalling out Tailwind really valuable enough? Can always double Protect, but I have to respect the max Knuckle that might come out here. I'd like to switch out into Comfey here. Switch out into Comfey. Because we're gonna want to Dynamax Goodra, I think. And I actually don't mind. Grimmsnarl being out actually I guess is a little annoying. Yeah, let's go out into Comfey here. And just Rock Slide, I think. I do feel pretty Cinderace weak. Like, I think Comfey is fine to switch into. We'll have Giga Drain into Grimmsnarl to KO the next turn anyway. The only problem is if my opponent's max knuckling here, it's a big attack boost, right? And I'm giving them a free switch in, so I don't know if I like my play here too much. I feel like my answer against Cinderace actually probably needs a Togekiss in the back. I also could, like I said, could have swapped the Excadrill out, stall out the turns of Tailwind, and then bring Excadrill back in. Alright, they're going to set up Light Screen. That's fine. That's pretty irrelevant considering Goodra is also physical. Max Knuckle, yep. You probably target the Excadrill slot here now that I think about it. Let's see. Yeah. So I could have swapped it out the opposite way. I'm not sure I really wanted to do that, though. I do have Trick Room on Comfey. So now the question is, does my opponent respect Trick Room enough? Yeah, Cinderace is a tough matchup here, I think. Because I can bring Goodra out for free, but I have to also respect Foul Play, which is super scary. Cinderace destroys the Tyranitar with the Max Knuckle. Reflect is still up. If I were my opponent, I'm probably G-Max like Fire into the Goodra. Or sorry, into Comfey. So we could Ally Switch here. Go for a Max Wormwind. That seems okay. Because I don't know if my opponent respects the Trick Room option enough is basically the question. But I think the Grimmsnarl feints from Sand here. We get an attack decrease on the Cinderace, bringing it back to neutral. And then if you do end up damaging the... Like, okay, here's the main thing. I don't think you're ever going for, like, G-Max Fireball into the Goodra slot. So that's, like, the one concern. You might double up onto that with, like, a Knuckle and a Foul Play, I guess. Grimmsnarl's going to feint after this turn. We have one extra turn of Dynamax. We'll be able to bring the Cinderace back to neutral if they're not knuckling here. If they knuckle, I think that's okay, because it'll go into Comfey most likely. And then if Goodra's the one getting damage, we can just heal back all the damage. So I feel like here you should probably target the Comfey. I really wanted a Trick Room here, but I don't know. I feel like my opponent has to respect the Comfey enough for me not to get this off. So this is more of a defensive Ally Switch. Or actually, I guess Ally Switch is always defensive. That doesn't really make much sense, but okay. Taunt goes into what was originally the Comfey slot, so that's good. Ooh, they've got Steel Spike. Okay. But that is going to end up going to Goodra. So yeah, once again, this is the value of Taunt. However, that's rough, because, like, that was so much damage. What? Oh my goodness. Alright, Cinderace is just kind of nuts. Wow. Yeah, that's really bad. I can obviously heal some of that off with this next turn. I think Grimmsnarl feints as well, but Cinderace is just a really tough matchup for this team, I think. Okay, so Grimmsnarl feints. I didn't think Steel Spike would do that much damage. And that's the problem. I think Cinderace matches up really well into both of the Pokemon that want to Dynamax with this team, in Tyranitar and the Goodra. So this is a 2v1, I'd feel fine, but it looks like Dracovish is coming out now. So you can just launch Steel Spike into Goodra again and Vicious Rend. At least there's an attack decrease. I mean, I think the way we win this is going for Wormwind into Dracovish and just Floral Healing here, and hope that Goodra can survive now after the attack drop. I don't even know if it can. The safe play for my opponents then is just Vicious Red into Comfey and Steel Spike. So I could have gone for Ally Switch, I guess. But I also don't have Superpower in the Tyranitar. So, in retrospect, how would I have played this? Maybe just set up Trick Room and try to go from there? Like, if I want to set up Trick Room, I could go Togekiss Comfey, actually, and just go for, like, Follow Me Trick Room. So at least we get Floral Healing off, but I don't even know if that's enough to really save us right now. I don't think it is, to be honest. Although I don't know if Vicious Rend KOs us now because of the heal. Yeah, it doesn't. Okay. They actually Steel Spike into Comfey. So now, if Wormwind can one-shot the Dracovish, even with the defense boost, I think we stand a chance. I just don't think it will. Which might have meant Giga Draining would have actually been the right play there. This is, like, people often say, kind of as a joke, but not really, that Cinderace is, like, the best Steel type in the format, and it really does feel that sometimes. Feel that way sometimes. At least the bright side is we have one more turn of Max. Yeah, it doesn't one-hit KO after the defense boost. That was a really safe play in my opponent's end, so nicely done. Giga Draining would have actually ended up being better for us. The bright side is at least both of these have an attack drop now. Sand is gone, and we have one more turn of max left on the Goodra. And Goodra has a fair amount of HP still. This is really close. Alright, let's see. Tyranitar comes back out. At least we got the healing off from Goodra, but the main thing, and I think this team often loses if you basically don't get boosts, like, upwards. Maybe, like, if you remain neutral and you're boosting yourself just to stay neutral, for example, because of Intimidates or stuff, that's pretty rough. One more turn of Taunt left. I forgot about Reflect as well, yeah. That would have KO'd through the Reflect. +2 defense, -1 attack. I think you target the Goodra here. Like, you probably double up onto it. The thing is, I don't have any way to hit the... Like, I think a double up on Goodra is pretty safe here. I don't think Vicious Rend KOs Tyranitar. So I don't think I'd protect with the Tyranitar here. Are you gonna... You wouldn't Iron Head, right? So I might need a Warm Wind into... That's not the right play. The right play is the Warm Wind into Cinderace. Okay, yep, Vicious Rend. I actually did more than I wanted it to. High Jump Kick. I would think into Goodra. Yeah. Is that enough to win a KO? It is. Oh. Yeah, nicely done. This is just the power of screens. And me never getting a boost off was really bad. Actually, my opponent could still lose this because they have high jump. Actually, no. Rock Slide didn't do enough there. I thought it would KO the Dracovish. If we KO... Like, we should have probably crunched the Dracovish to try to pick up the knockout with Sand. I was hoping Goodra could survive the double up, and honestly, I really had a little bit of faith in it, but obviously it wasn't able to. Now you just Vicious Rend Iron Head, so there's no way about it other than if we get like a triple protect for Dracovish to faint from Sand. But because we don't have superpower, like I don't even have a way to really do that much damage to the unless my opponent like throws here and high jump kicks instead of Iron Heading, but yeah, they go for the Iron Head. So the play to make last turn was going for Crunch, and then my opponent has to play the high jump kick mind games basically. Yeah, I really do think our best play is to just try to go for a triple protect, because we're gonna faint from a double up for sure. Yeah, we don't get it. Nicely done on my opponent's end. I thought the lead was alright, but I think basically what my opponent did really smartly in this game was bait me into bringing what I did. Actually, if Iron Head doesn't KO here, then I messed up, but I think it should. Yeah, okay. If it didn't KO, then the correct play was to crunch until a Cinderace, that knocks out, and then Dracovish takes more sand damage, and then we go from there. So, I think, like, what we got baited into Tyranitar Excadrill. I don't know, I don't feel... I think, like, maybe Tyranitar Comfey could have worked. Actually, no, I think the right approach in this game was actually setting up Trick Room, because Cinderace is just way too oppressive to deal with. It was super, super difficult to play around. As you saw, like, it just has good damage output against literally everything, especially the Pokemon we Dynamax with this team in the Rotom and the... Or sorry, not the Rotom, the Tyranitar and the Goodra. So if I were to replay this, I'd probably play a Trick Room-oriented game, which allows me to basically then sweep potentially under Trick Room with Tyranitar, because the idea behind the Tyranitar Excadrill lead was to outpace the Cinderace, but Tailwind allows the Cinderace to outspeed my Excadrill. Maybe I should have just switched out my Excadrill as well into Comfey that turn, and conserve the Excadrill, because then I can outspeed the Cinderace after Tailwind is over. But yeah, Grimmsnarl getting multiple screens off was a little problematic as well. And maybe Max Rockfall would have KO'd even through Reflect. I don't think it would have personally. I think it would have survived a little bit, so I didn't feel great about Dynamaxing Excadrill. But yeah, ultimately, I think Cinderace is a tough matchup. I didn't approach the matchup correctly, so he's learned a couple of things in how to deal with it going into the future. Alright, getting into our next match of the day. This is a really interesting team. There's a Luxray, which I believe we played up against a couple of days ago. I mentioned because I had actually used that rental team, so it's a really interesting Pokemon. I personally was pretty underwhelmed by it when I tried it on stream, but it's pretty fun. The main thing you often want to get set up with it is like Guts with Flame Orb, so you like protect on the first turn and then potentially Dynamax the Luxray and do a lot of damage with like Max Lightning. And Luxray gets access to the Fangs as well, so like Ice Fang, Fire Fang, for example. So, let's see. Obviously, there's potential screen support from Grimmsnarl. I'll have to respect Trick Eject button, which is always kind of scary. Feels like a pretty Tyranitar-friendly game for the most part. I'm just worried about the Tyranitar Mirror because we don't have, say, something like Max Knuckle. But Yeah, I think the main thing in playing with this team that I've learned is you have to really decide whether you want to go with Comfey Tyranitar or Comfey Goodra. I think that last game also highlighted some, weaknesses in what can happen if you lead poorly or choose the wrong mode. Rotom actually has a fair amount of value now that I think about it. It matches up really nicely into all the offensive mons on my opponent's team. Goodra's still not bad offensively. I might leave it in the back. I like Comfey, Tyranitar, Rotom, and Excadrill is actually not bad here either. I mean, Excadrill actually has super effective attacks into 5 of the 6 mons, so let's go with that. The main reason I'm prioritizing Tyranitar in this matchup is because my opponent has that Dusclops. Dusclops is not a super fun Pokemon to go up against, especially if you don't have super effective attacks against it, because it can just consistently heal back with Pain Split. So yeah, I'd rather prioritize bringing Tyranitar. We can always obviously switch out with these leads as well, but it's going to be Dusclops and Luxray, which I think is pretty ideal for us here. The main thing I want to do is probably just go for Giga Drain, Max Darkness into Dusclops, mainly because I'm not worried about Luxray, considering that we have Excadrill in the back. The only thing that I thought didn't match up really nicely into my opponent's team was Excadrill into Dusclops. If we KO Dusclops, even regular Excadrill has kind of a field day in this matchup. I could even consider not maxing Tyranitar and just going for Giga Drain, but I'm worried, can Luxray one-shot us? That's the main question. Out of fear that Luxray can Dynamax and one-hit KO us, I'd rather just Dynamax to play it safe here, because I think Luxray is a Pokemon, especially if you're leading it, that probably wants to max, but it looks like they're just going to have to not max on turn 1. So this Dynamax ends up being kind of a waste on my end, but I wanted to play it safe. Quite frankly, I don't know Luxray's full moveset, wasn't sure if it could potentially one-hit KO us. In retrospect, though, I think the only thing I'm worried about is a fighting type attack. Not even sure it gets access to anything like that. Or I guess a Helping Hand max move. But I don't think a Helping Hand max move actually KOs. Luxray just protects, though, which is fine by me, so this should just be a free knockout onto Dusclops turn 1. A Spadef drop is actually quite nice onto the Luxray as well, just because it means our Hydro Pumps do more. It also means Giga Drain potentially does more. More importantly, once again, now we've paved the way for Excadrill in this late game. Could even potentially Trick Room here. The main reason I wanted to KO Dusclops, not that Trick Room was really scary for my opponent's end, it was more just the fear of sticking on the field for a very long time and disrupting us with Will-O-Wisp. Because, yeah, as you guys saw, because this is a pretty physically oriented team, burns can cause a lot of problems for us. Okay. Yep, so it's Luxray with the Flame Orb, as I mentioned. So I really would have preferred not maxing there, and I think in retrospect, I maybe gave that Luxray a little bit too much respect. I just wanted the guarantee knockout onto the Excadrill, onto the Dusclops, because once again, I'm just trying to pave the way for Excadrill in the late game. Now I can even potentially spread in with the Trick Room of my own this subsequent turn. So Tyranitar comes in. We have Rotom and Excadrill. Obviously, that matches up really nicely against Tyranitar. And, I feel like Ally Switch here is pretty safe, because I think you want to respect the Tyranitar slot, so, going for something like an Ally Switch and just a Max Darkness seems fine to me here onto the Luxray. I'm just going to go for that. Not even sure you can one-shot my Tyranitar right now. I just want to cover for the potential of Bear Tyranitar having, a fighting type attack. And I think because we have Will-O-Wisp on Rotom, obviously, if we land the Will-O-Wisp onto the Tyranitar, will be in pretty good shape. We should one-shot Luxray as long as we're not getting KO'd on Tyranitar beforehand. And I think, yeah, my opponent's going to have to read into Ally Switch to be able to call this correctly. Either way, that's a really cool Pokemon design, honestly, and Shiny Luxray looks really sick. Okay, so we're going to go for Ally Switch. Yep, they do have Max Knuckle. That's what I thought they might. And it goes into Comfey, perfect. The only problem here is if it was a superpower going into my slot now. Was previously the Comfey slot, but I think that's relatively unlikely. I could have actually Max Guarded and Trick Room now that I think about it, but it's actually going to be high horsepower. Nice. So Max Guard Trick Room would have actually ended up accomplishing more or less the same thing, but this is still fine. This should one-shot the... Oh, it actually does not pick up the one-hit KO, but that's in Giga Drain KO range now, so we should be fine. Yeah, once again, Ally Switch is kind of a cheesy move, but it's so good on a Pokemon like Comfey specifically because people just don't even know what Comfey does to start with, and it's really hard to read into. So that puts us in a really good spot. Their Tyranitar is faster, which is a little bit scary, but I think I'm content to just go for a Rock Fall here and Giga Drain. I'm honestly not even sure they have a fighting type attack on Tyranitar because they've revealed the high horsepower, so you obviously want Rock Slide and Crunch, or any dark type attack like Crunch, Assurance, maybe even Lash Out. If you're running high horsepower and Protect is your last one, it means you don't have Superpower, which means no Max Knuckle. Okay, we end up going first this time around. So, looks like our Tyranitar is actually speed high. I think this just gets the one-hit KO. Yeah, beautiful. I mean, this is why weakness policy strategies are just so strong in VGC 2020, right? Like, especially a Pokemon like Tyranitar that's naturally bulky. So, what I want to actually, like, I'm glad to confirm that the Luxray did have a fighting type attack. I'm curious what the base is coming from. I was worried about it having access to something like Superpower, but yeah, this was just a very good game for Tyranitar. And, you know, I was like, even if Tyranitar goes in, I feel like Excadrill cleans this up relatively easily. Excadrill Rotom honestly made this a very favorable matchup for us, so just gonna go for a Rock Slide. Actually, we can just Thunder Punch here. I don't even need a Rock Slide. And I don't believe we've actually gotten a Floral Healing off yet, so I'd like to go for it just to see the animation at this point. Yeah. So this is an attack I need to be going with. That's a beautiful animation, so I'd really like to use that more when it's like actually relevant. Okay, so Dazzling Gleam's going to come out, but even if you crit us, Tyranitar should survive. Thunder Punch should pick up the KO in return. And yeah, that actually didn't do as much as I expected, even with the crit. Only around 40%, but of course Sandstorm is up, so giving us that Spadef boost as well. So Thunder Punch comes out and picks up the one-hit KO. I mean, this Tyranitar essentially almost one-hit KO'd everything on my opponent's team, so just super, super powerful. So yeah, I don't think Goodra would have provided us as much value, so I'm glad we opted for the Tyranitar route. It didn't look like my opponent had very much for Tyranitar, so that was just a clear Comfey plus Tyranitar sweep. Yesterday's episode, that first game highlighted the strength of Tyranitar, and then we pivoted to Goodra, and then back to today now, showing the strength of Tyranitar once again. So it's going to be it for the second match, and let's just look for our third opponent. Alright, going into our last match of the day, we are up against Sun. I mean, actually, I think this was literally the previous Sun team we used, right? If I remember correctly. I don't know if that was the exact order, although I do think it is, honestly. So, let's see, when I was playing with that team, I thought Togekiss plus Tyranitar was like a terrible matchup. So I feel like that's the direction we want to go in. Although, honestly, Goodra doesn't look bad here either, especially because, like, we have priority with Comfey. So, like, we could just go for, like, Giga Drain immediately onto Goodra turn 1. But I don't know, like Tyranitar and Togekiss I think are pretty much must-brings in this matchup. So much to the point where I kind of want to lead with it. I think the route we go with is Togekiss, Tyranitar, Comfey, probably Goodra. And don't bring the Excadrill. Let's see. Togekiss. Togekiss as a lead is just so strong against this team composition. Let's not lead Tyranitar so that we can potentially pivot out into Tyranitar. I like Togekiss Goodra, actually. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I still think Comfey is pretty good here. Although I want to deny the Trick Room, so maybe for that reason I go with Togekiss Tyranitar. With Goodra and Comfey in the back. So the thing is that Goodra is a hard stop to Venusaur, so if my opponent, like by going with this lead, I can maybe bait out my opponent to committing their G-Max to Venusaur early on, and then go from there. So that would be nice. Yeah, if we commit the G-Max from the Venusaur, then we can have a late game option with Goodra. They're going to go Incineroar Dusclops, which I don't mind. Although Comfey plus Tyranitar would have hard beat this. Probably just won us the game, actually, on turn 1. Okay. So this route makes the most sense to me, and I think what my opponent does here is you fake out into the Togekiss, and then you just go into Rhyperior. That's actually probably the approach I should have just gone with when I was playing with that team, so nicely executed on my opponent's end. I think Comfey Tyranitar in retrospect might have just been smarter. I actually think I'm just going to go out of Comfey to try to just reverse my opponent's Trick Room and just launch a Crunch into Dusclops. So the idea behind this is I'm hoping that I can KO Dusclops, like Crunch is a 2-hit KO into Dusclops with Sandstorm. I bring in Dusclops, and the next turn I just Bulldoze Crunch, or sorry, Trick Room Crunch. So when I played with this team, I struggled against Togekiss Tyranitar, and my opponent is showing exactly how you should try to beat it. So well done on their end. Very nicely done. Oh, it's actually Ally Switch coming out. Okay, I didn't expect that. Faster Incineroar, Departing Shot into Tyranitar. Okay. Interesting. That actually worked out really nicely, though. However, I am getting a free Crunch into whatever's coming in. It's just going to be at -2 attack. Probably Rhyperior, if I had to guess. Now, the problem is I don't think Max Darkness KOs the Dusclops. At least Trick Room doesn't go up, though, which I would say is in our favor. And if Rhyperior isn't coming out here, it's like, what do you bring in? Torkoal? I guess you could have Rillaboom, but yeah. Yep, there's Rhyperior. Okay. That was a nice ally switch. I really didn't expect that. Like, I could Giga Drain Crunch here. Sorry, Giga Drain, not Giga Drain. Yeah, Giga Drain Max Darkness into Dusclops. This is a really awkward spot to be in, honestly. If I'm my opponent, I think you Rockfall into Tyranitar. You don't want to activate Weakness Policy. So what I want to do here, honestly, is like Trick Room, expecting my opponent to Trick Room. But if they expect that and like Bulldoze instead, that's really bad for us, right? I'm gonna read into Trick Room this turn. If they like Protect Trick Room, we win. Alright, Protect comes out, which should mean Trick Room from Dusclops. I think Crunch should be a 2-hit KO onto this. Or sorry, Crunch, Max Darkness the next turn plus Giga Drain. Yeah, okay, nice. Perfect. Yeah, because now I can just Giga Drain. Do I even need a Max Darkness, actually? That Crunch did around, like, 33%. So, obviously, the next Crunch will do double. They could actually make a cool play of switching the Dusclops out. I want to ensure the knockout, so yeah, I'm actually just going to go for Giga Drain onto Tyranitar, Dynamax, and then Max Darkness into Dusclops. I think that's the better route. They might ally switch, but ally switching means that Rhyperior still takes Max Darkness, which is a fair amount of damage, so I don't mind that too much. So let's see. What else really is there to consider at this point? Yeah, I think ally switch is the one thing to consider. If they have a fighting type attack on Rhyperior, that would give us trouble, but I don't think they do, because if they did, you probably would just Dynamax Rhyperior last turn. Even if you like, the main thing we want to deny here is Trick Room. If we deny Trick Room, like, Rhyperior outside of Trick Room is just so much worse, because even if you have your Weakness Policy activated, you're not getting these one-hit KOs that you normally want to get. So let's see if they commit to ally switching here. Looks like Rhyperior is going to max. That's fine by me. Now our Tyranitar doesn't have great damage output against Rhyperior, but obviously we've got Goodra with Power Whip in the back. Also, like, we have Giga Drain with Comfey. Not that that's really great damage output. We don't really want to activate the Rhyperior's Weakness Policy either, so we want to watch out about that. But let's see if they ally switch here. Okay, no ally switch. Actually, it could still be ally switch, right? I forget the priority of ally switch, but Comfey is at +3 with Triage. Either way, though, we get policy activated, which essentially brings us back to neutral, but even neutral Tyranitar is fine enough here in this matchup. Nice, and Dusclops is an ally switch, so that's a KO. That is, yeah, clean knockout there, so no more Trick Room from my opponent's end, and now my opponent's stuck with Rhyperior. Now, I wish I had Rotom in the back. That would make my life a lot easier, but I think it's still okay. Just gonna opt for Rockfall, yeah. Maybe even into Comfey, because, yeah, you want to just get that out of the field. Yep. I really want to go for more healing with Comfey right now. Let's see what comes out. It's going to be Incineroar. So, you can obviously, like, Parting Shot, Psycho and Parting Shot again. Which is rough. The fact that Incineroar is faster makes things, like, a little trickier, but I think it's still fine. I don't really mind. I wish we had Max Knuckle right now. That'd be really nice to go for. Conserving Comfey to, like, go for stuff into Goodra would be nice. Let's see. My opponent doesn't have any switch-ins into Rock, though, right? So, if this is a free Max Rockfall into the Incineroar slot. It's just what I want to do with Comfey. Do I want to just sacrifice it? I think the answer is probably yes. Oh, actually, Ally Switch could work here. Actually, Ally Switch would be really nice. Yeah, because it has higher prio. I guess you could just fake out Comfey here, but I think you would probably want a Parting Shot into Tyranitar and, like, Rockfall. Yeah. Okay, nice. So that comes out. Oh, they actually just opted for Flare Blitz. Nice, that also works for me. So that should be a KO until the Incineroar, even at -1 attack, I think. And now we should be able to comfortably deal with Rhyperior, so we're in good shape. Wow, Incineroar hangs on. That is such a bulky Pokemon. That's fine, though. I think just getting that chunk of damage is still valuable enough for me, because that's in KO range from, like, a Dazzling Gleam from Togekiss at this point. So Max Quake's going to come out, probably going into the Tyranitar slot. No, actually goes to, yeah, so goes into the old Tyranitar slot, which is now Comfey, so that ally switch works out nicely for us. Now with Goodra in the back, I think what we do is basically wait for Rhyperior's max to end and then just launch a Power Whip into that slot. So I'm content just going into the Togekiss right now, going for Dazzling Gleam. Because no matter what my opponent has in the back, I don't think it beats Tyranitar plus Goodra. Especially because we have Power Whip. So I'm content to just max Darkness here, get another Spadef drop onto the Rhyperior. In the off chance Togekiss survives the turn, and Dazzling Gleam. I guess I could max Rockfall to cover for the option of Torkoal potentially switching in, but I'm not going to go for that. So, let's see. Okay, Incineroar does switch out. It ends up being Rillaboom. Ooh, okay. I think that's still fine. I think Goodra 3v1s at this point. Yeah, I still don't think I would have changed top. Air Slashing into the instant slot would have been better, I think. Yeah, that's the one play that I think would have been better. But now everything is in KO range from the Goodra, and you can't really touch Goodra with Rillaboom. Darkness does so little damage there though, and it should be a Rockfall into the Togekiss. Yeah, I think at this point though Goodra closes it out. It is closer than I'd really like though, and I think Rockfall still should one-shot the Togekiss here. Yeah, but I basically was like Goodra's our win condition, so I don't want to switch it in because I think this is just too important to give up right now. Yeah, so Sand is gone. Max ends. You know, the main tricky thing in this game was that we basically just didn't get too much mileage out of, Comfey strats. But I also think that's okay. Yeah. So, we can go out in a Goodra now. What do I want to do? Because you have the option of Incineroar switching it at any given point. The fact to survive definitely makes this game a little tougher. Obviously I could protect here. If I'm my opponent, honestly, you probably double up onto Goodra with Fake Out high horsepower. So I'm just going to launch a Crunch into Rillaboom. I can't protect with the Goodra, but Rhyperior is the only thing that really threatens me with damage. Yeah, my opponent could still close this out, I guess, because one high horsepower might be enough. But I think I have to Crunch here. I don't really care about Rillaboom one-shotting Tyranitar. Rhyperior protects. Okay, that's a great protect on their end, actually. Rillaboom. Strain punches. It's a 3v1 now, actually. I think my opponent might have this. The reason I didn't protect there was fear of Fake Out high horsepower into the Goodra slot. Actually, because they have Drain Punch, they might be able to do enough damage to the Goodra. I mean, we have Fire Punch, but I think you switch in for Intimidate right now. If I'm my opponent, I switch Rhyperior out into the... I should have Fire Punched Rillaboom. I would switch Rhyperior out into Incineroar right now. Yeah, I think my opponent has enough firepower because you can just cycle Fake Outs at this point. That was a really good play by them last turn, and maybe it would have been... if I protect Fire Punch there... Yeah, so Rhyperior switches out. I actually really messed up by not air slashing the Incineroar switch out. I thought Dazzling Gleam was fine there, but I didn't need the damage onto Rhyperior, so that one misplay actually might have cost me the game. Alright, they're gonna knock off Assault Vest. Yeah, the problem is now you can just Fake Out Drain Punch, and they're faster with the the Rillaboom, which is problematic. Yeah, Fire Punch isn't doing enough. I actually thought we had this, honestly, so I miscalculated. Air Slash into the Rillaboom slot would have been really nice, because then it would have been KO range from a Fire Punch. I think my opponent brought the perfect Pokemon into this set, and the main problem was that Comfey... with Comfey, you normally want to give yourself multiple boosts, but the problem was that in this one, we were able to only really get, one boost effective. Or, sorry, our boost was solely to negate the Intimidates. The Incineroar being faster than the Tyranitar was also really problematic for us, because it meant that 8 was able to get that parting shot off before we could do anything. I guess in the long run, that didn't actually end up being super relevant. The main thing was Incineroar surviving the max Rockfall. So I think this was a really good example of how, one simple play, me not air slashing. I mean, the air slash doesn't KO Rillaboom, but it does a ton of damage, enough where it's in KO range from, I think, Goodra Fire Punch. So I really just underestimated Rillaboom as a late game on. I thought Goodra would just wall it completely, but my opponent played this perfectly, I think, in terms of Pokemon selection. And while I had, it's a tough matchup against Tyranitar and Togekiss as well, so really nicely executed on their end. And so I think that's highlights exactly how you can potentially play into this matchup. So really well done on my opponent's end. I think they definitely brought the perfect Pokemon. If I just led Comfey Tyranitar, actually Comfey Tyranitar wouldn't have even solved our problems because yeah, even if we self-Giga Drain Max Darkness, they're just going to Parting Shot turn 1. So Intimidate is, I think, a really tough, like, it's really, really good against this team because, like, if you don't have Intimidate, then the boosts just kind of get out of control. Goodra probably, like, didn't feel like the right approach because Goodra has a terrible matchup kind of into the Dusclops, so I didn't really want to play into that. Nice ally switch on the first turn. And ultimately, I think, yeah, I kind of underestimated the late game Rillaboom potential, and that thing actually pretty much just completely swept us. What we needed to do was basically Air Slash into the Rillaboom on the switch in, and then like protect Tyranitar, Fire Punch it, and then that wins us the game. But that also highlights like the power of, you know, late game fake outs and how my opponent cycled that. So nicely done on their end. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you guys enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like. Feel free to try out the team, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, peace.